We live in an age that worships preparation while forgetting presence, an era obsessed with tomorrow yet profoundly absent from today. The world feels fragile, stretched thin by crises that never end, headlines that never sleep, alarms that never silence the mind. In this climate of permanent urgency, survival has become a fantasy sold in bulk. Groups are formed, plans are drawn, gear is stacked like armor against an imagined collapse. People gather around the promise of safety, unity, strength in numbers. But beneath this surface of readiness, something quieter unfolds. A deeper truth waits, uncomfortable and rarely spoken. Because survival, as it is sold to us, often becomes another distraction from living. Another way to run from ourselves, another illusion that order can be purchased, that fear can be organized, that meaning can be outsourced to a group, a strategy, a stockpile of things. We are told that together we are safer, that belonging guarantees protection, that a collective will save us when the systems fall. And so we rush to join, to align, to merge our uncertainty with others who are equally afraid. Yet fear does not dissolve when shared. It multiplies, it echoes, it becomes doctrine. Survival groups promise clarity in chaos, but often create new forms of chaos inside the soul. They replace silence with constant planning, simplicity with endless complexity, trust in life with suspicion of everyone outside the circle. What begins as preparation quietly transforms into obsession. The mind no longer rests. The heart no longer softens. Life becomes a rehearsal for disaster, and the present moment is sacrificed on the altar of what might go wrong. The brutal truth is that most survival groups are not built on wisdom, but on anxiety, not on consciousness, but on control. They mirror the very systems they claim to reject. Hierarchies emerge, egos inflate, power concentrates, rules multiply, fear becomes currency. The loudest voices dominate, not the wisest ones. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the group drifts away from resilience and toward rigidity, toward dogma, toward paranoia disguised as vigilance. You prepare for the collapse of society, yet recreate its worst patterns in miniature. Competition replaces cooperation, distrust poisons connection, and the simplicity that once inspired the journey is buried beneath protocols, titles, and the endless need to be right. In these groups, survival is often reduced to objects, tools, weapons, supplies, as if life could be guaranteed by accumulation, as if safety was something you could stack on a shelf. But the more you gather, the heavier you become. The weight of things crushes the lightness of the spirit. You learn how to defend territory, but forget how to inhabit your own breath. You train for scarcity, and scarcity takes root inside you. Anxiety sharpens, compassion dulls. The world outside becomes an enemy, and the inner world becomes neglected terrain. You are ready for everything except yourself, ready for disaster, but unprepared for silence. Armed against strangers, but defenseless against emptiness. The deepest danger of survival groups is not what happens when systems fail. It is what happens to the human soul long before that. Constant anticipation of collapse rewires perception. Every interaction becomes transactional. Every kindness is weighed. Every resource is measured. Trust erodes, even among those who claim brotherhood. Because when fear is the foundation, unity is fragile. One crack, one shortage, one disagreement, and the illusion fractures. The group that promised security becomes a source of tension. The place that was meant to protect begins to suffocate. And many discover too late that they traded inner peace for a fantasy of control, traded freedom for membership, traded life for a perpetual state of readiness. There is also a quieter truth that rarely fits into survival rhetoric. Most crises are not survived by the strongest, the most armed, or the most prepared on paper. They are survived by the adaptable, the calm, the humble, Those who can listen, observe, and respond rather than react. Those who can cooperate without domination, who can let go without panic. Survival groups often train the body but neglect the mind. They teach tactics but ignore awareness. They focus on scenarios but forget presence. And when reality diverges from the plan, rigidity becomes a liability. Because life does not follow scripts. It flows, it changes, it demands flexibility, not fixation. Another truth, rarely spoken aloud, is that many people join survival groups not to survive, but to feel important, to belong, to escape the quiet confrontation with their own lives. The group becomes identity. Purpose is borrowed instead of discovered. Fear gives meaning where emptiness once lived, and this is perhaps the most brutal irony of all. In preparing for the end of the world, many abandon the only world that truly exists, the one happening now, the breath, the sky, the simple miracle of being alive without agenda. The mind is always elsewhere, rehearsing catastrophe, while life passes unnoticed, unappreciated, unlived. Yet there is another way to understand survival. A quieter, deeper way that does not rely on fear or accumulation. True survival begins with simplicity, with the ability to need less, not more, to move lightly through uncertainty, to trust your capacity to adapt rather than your inventory to protect. It is found in presence, not paranoia, in awareness, not aggression, in community rooted in compassion rather than suspicion. The most resilient humans in history were not those with the biggest stockpiles, but those with the deepest connection to themselves, to each other, and to the rhythms of life. They knew how to listen to the land, to the body, to the moment. They understood that survival is not a battle against life, but a dialogue with it. When you strip survival down to its essence, it becomes a practice of consciousness. Can you remain calm when certainty dissolves? Can you stay kind when resources feel scarce? Can you be flexible when plans fail? Can you let go when holding on creates suffering? These are not skills taught in most survival groups. They cannot be drilled or weaponized. They are cultivated in stillness, in simplicity, in a life not cluttered with excess, fear, or constant noise. A life where you know yourself deeply enough that chaos does not steal your center. Where you carry your shelter inside, not on your back. There is a silent rebellion in choosing this path, in refusing to live as if collapse is the only truth worth preparing for, in choosing to be fully alive instead of perpetually on guard. This does not mean ignorance or naivety. It means balance, awareness without obsession, preparation without fear, community without control. It means understanding that no group, no plan, no fortress can replace inner resilience. That the greatest survival skill is presence, the ability to meet reality as it is, not as your fears imagine it to be, to respond with clarity rather than panic, to act from wisdom rather than reflex. In the end, the brutal truth about survival groups is not that they are useless, but that they are incomplete. They prepare the outer world while neglecting the inner one. They teach you how to endure collapse, but not how to live before it arrives. And perhaps the greatest act of survival today is not preparing for the end, but refusing to let fear steal the present, choosing a life of less noise, less accumulation, less illusion, choosing depth over defense, consciousness over control. Because when everything else falls away, what remains is not what you stored, but who you became. And the quiet strength of a simple, aware mind may be the most powerful survival tool of all.